should be live.
All right, cool. And we are. Welcome, everybody, to Hump Day Hangouts. Today is the 11th of September, 2019. And we've got almost everybody here. We're going to do a quick little introduction, and then we've got some really good announcements before we dive into the questions, which I looked, and it looks like we've already got some really good ones today. So we're going to dive into that. But start with Bradley on the top left. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Happy to be here. Excited because we're about a month away from POFU Live. So excited but nervous at the same time because I can't stand flying and I have to fly again. I know for you guys it's no big deal, but for me, I hate it. So I can start getting nervous about a month out, but it'll be a good event. So I'm excited.
I was about to say, Denver's a little bit of a drive. Definitely want to fly there.
Yeah.
So, well, somebody had a birthday this weekend, I think, right?
They shall remain unmentioned.
All right, skipping smoothly over that. Bradley did not have a birthday. I repeat. Oh man. Well, you know, in case somebody did have a birthday, happy birthday. So, Chris, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Glad the hot summer weather is over here. Getting into autumn. But yeah, like same as you, excited for POFU. Like it's coming.
Definitely. And for those of you who are new, that's awesome. Thanks for watching. If you have no idea what we're talking about, it's going to be our second year running live event in Denver this year. You can go to pofulive.com to find out some more about that, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. But last and certainly not least, Marco, how you doing?
What's up, man? I'm excited. We have a webinar tonight with Peter Drew. Right? We've been doing his stuff for quite a while, and now we're going to go into his group and share some of our knowledge. And, you know, I'm going to be sharing actually one of my clients. You know, you guys know I don't like doing that. Not the name, but the numbers and like, for example, without giving the farm away or what the webinar tonight is about, you know, 2,000 actions or whatever Google calls it, with you know, over 1,000 visits to the website, almost 200 calls. Just incredible shit that's still going on with GMB. It's not dead, guys. It hasn't died. Just the verification is very difficult. But if you can get a client who has a legitimate GMB that you can work on, you can still get phenomenal results. And this is someone, you know, going back a year. The lawyer is going back now, what, two years is it? Since this came out almost. So I'm not sharing those numbers. Those are even bigger. Maybe I should have, but I don't know. I didn't want people to think I was lying. It's like I'm lying if I share that. But anyway, it still works phenomenally well. Everything we do still works. Imagine that. What is it? 6 years in for Semantic Mastery, and our shit still works.
Well, that's good. Gonna go talk to Peter Drew's people, show them what's up. So definitely be a good webinar for them. For anyone who's interested in what they're going to be covering, it's going to be stuff that, you know, we talk about a lot. So if you're interested, we could either get you a replay, we could point you in the direction of some other content that we have that'll help you out over there. Real quick.
Join us for the webinar.
Yeah.
It's tonight at 8 Eastern.
Yeah, hit us up on the page if you're interested. We'll drop the registration link.
Yeah, drop the registration link and join us, and it'll be fun. I might give something away. I don't know. I might just get loose mouth.
All right, real quick, everyone. Thanks for being here today. If you are new, you're in the right place. We're about to hop in and start answering your questions. If you're checking out the replay, you can always ask questions ahead of time. You can go to semanticmastery.com/HD questions and ask them there. We love it if you're live, but we get it. Life gets in the way. You may have to step away. You got a client call, whatever it is you're doing. But you can always ask your questions. We just ask that you limit it. Try to ask one question. You know, if we get like those really crazy long, like 5-part questions, we sometimes have to skip through them to make sure that we get to other people's. But then you can come check out the replay on our YouTube channel. And then where to start with Semantic Mastery. This is definitely a question we get a lot. And, you know, people are like, well, what do you do if you have a new site? Or what do you do when you're setting up a YouTube channel or you have an age domain? And all of that stuff is covered in the battle plan, all right? It's a step-by-step battle plan for processes for getting results in all those different areas and a bunch of other stuff that I haven't even mentioned, a bunch of crazy freaking bonuses that are really awesome that we put together over the years. And we keep this updated. We update it from time to time. We don't, relaunch it. We just put it out once a year for a huge update, but throughout the year, we're constantly updating it. If you don't have that yet, highly recommend you go over to battleplan.semanticmastery.com, pick it up. And then the next step from there, if you're ready to grow or start your own digital marketing business, then join us in the mastermind, right? You hear us talk about it from time to time. It's great, not only for the information, but to the access to other people you get. All right, it's people who are serious about, as Marco would say, doing the do or walking the walk, and that you want to be around those people as well as learning from them and us. So if you're interested in that, find out more at mastermind.semanticmastery.com. And then last but certainly not least, save time and money. We tell people to do this regardless if you're doing this with clients, if you're doing it for your own projects. But use our done for you services. If it fits into your project, go over to mgyb.co. Find out what can help you get started there in terms of syndication networks, RYS drive stacks, press releases, link building, embeds, whatever. All right. We constantly preach this. This is the stuff we use for our own projects so that we can speed up results. So we're not down there in the trenches doing it all the time. On my end, I think that's about it, guys. Do we have anything else we want to cover besides telling people to come to POFU Live in October? We really want to see as many people there as possible, and you can grab your ticket at pofulive.com.
I just want to mention that quickly, Marco. I just want to mention that POFU Live is about kind of a multi-angled approach to getting results for your business, whatever that business may be. You could be a digital marketing consultant or own an agency or even just own your own business for that matter. It doesn't even have to be, you don't even have to be a marketing consultant. You just want to grow your own business. It could be offline business or an online business. What we're going to be talking about is a combination of course, digital marketing strategies. That's what we primarily taught for over all the years. But through my own experience recently with my new business, I found more of a holistic marketing approach actually has a significant impact on digital presence, which I would have never known had I not started this business of mine that has a traditional marketing component to it. And so it's really interesting to be able to see results with my own new business, how you can create a strong brand very, very quickly using a combination of marketing methods, not just strictly or purely digital marketing methods, which is what I have been using and preaching for even my own clients for many years now. And it's very interesting to see the results that I've been able to achieve in just a few months. And and also implementing with some of my clients now because of the significant results I've seen. But on top of just the marketing training that you're going to get, it's also the mindset training and the networking along with others that are, savvy business owners of their own. And it's just creating that kind of that all-encompassing environment where you can really learn and grow and learn how to get better results for whatever business you may be in. So I would encourage you guys, if you're really in need of, an edge in your own business, or you're kind of stagnant, and you want to see significant growth, POFU Live is probably your best opportunity. Come check us out.
For people who are on the fence, right? And I know some people, is it really going to be worth it? Should I go to Denver? Why should I go to Denver? I would say go to the sales page, watch the videos. Those are people who were at last year's POFU Live event. Listen to what they have to say, because there's some seasoned marketers in there, guys, that are saying that it was a lot of stuff shared that they just didn't know or would never have thought of. So even if you're a seasoned marketer and you think, I already know what I need to know, I would say come join us. Come join us, because I am going, especially what I'm going to talk about, it's to me and my approach, it's life-changing for me and how I see things, how I look at things, and how I deal with things. So, I mean, it could be what you need to get you not only on the path to POFU, but even closer. Whatever your POFU is, right? Doesn't have to be mine, doesn't have to be Bradley's. You should know what your goals are. You should know where you want to be, what your revenue, monthly recurring revenue should be, or where you want it to be. but you need a way to get there. And that's what we want to do for you. We want to help you establish that path and keep you on that path.
Okay, very well said. Should we jump into questions or what?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let me grab the screen. Okay, you guys should be seeing my full screen, correct? Please confirm. Anybody?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So we're going to start with Greg, and then we've got this very long multi-part question, which, guys, we've tried to tell you, remind you guys on a regular basis. We can't assume everybody's heard it though, but please split your questions up. Ask one. If it's a question that has maybe one or two parts to it, ask that, and then allow some other people to post questions before posting your next question, because that's a lot. That's going to take a few minutes to get through, but we'll try to run through what we can.
Or just break it up and we can come back to it.
Yeah, we might have to. So we'll start with Greg, though. He's first up. He says, Marco, when you are testing a new strategy, how do you verify it works? How do you ensure it is because of that new strategy? And how do you track results these days with Google showing everyone individualized search answers or search results?
All right, to me, it's very simple. Does it affect the bottom line? The end result to me is increased visits to the website, which means more form fills, more, and especially if I'm in GMB, it means more phone calls, means more visits from GMB to the website. It means more requests for directions, and that should reflect month to month on how much the client is making from my efforts. I keep a really close eye on my clients. It has to be transparent, right? I have a really good relationship with clients. When I take on a new client, it's a must. It has to be transparent. I have to be able to see. If you try to hide something from me, then it means that you're trying to fuck me out of money, and there's no way that we're gonna work. I don't care about Google showing people individualized search results, simply because it at the end of the day, it transfers into a metric that I can measure. For example, another thing about GMB is that it affects organic. It has a cause and effect relationship between what you do in GMB and your organic. So does RYS. Everything that we do is like a domino effect. One pushes the other until the very end. And at the very end, what you see is results. We call it pay per result, right? Or
performance.
Pay per result or pay per performance, PPP, PPR, however you want to call it. How is my client going to know what my performance is and whether I'm getting results? Well, I'm going to track everything. I'm going to track that phone, and I'm going to have access to it so I can track it. I'm going to track that GMB. I'm going to have them in analytics. I'm going to have them in Google Search Console. I'm going to know the keywords that are pushing up. I'm going to know the traffic that's coming into the website. I'm going to know what happens to the traffic when it gets to the website. And I am going to know where that traffic drops off. So it's an overall approach. Now, I know month to month what's happening with my client. When I try something new, it has to have either a positive, negative, or neutral effect on it. If there's no effect, and I track it over several months, it can't just be 1 month, because that could just be a bump. But if there's steady growth or a steady drop, I know I did something right or I did something wrong. So to me, it's very simple to keep track of. I don't need 1,000 SEO tools and 1,000 things to keep track of what's happening with my clients or to know whether I'm getting results. Now, if it's on something new that I'm trying, then I might just try that one thing. So that's isolation, right? That's not a single variable test, because it could have several variables involved. And so but that test is going to be done in isolation, so that it's going to be absent everything else that we do in Semantic Mastery, so that I know whether we can add it to our arsenal, which is how GMB came into being, right? It's just from me testing and seeing, well, I'm getting results in isolation, meaning within the GMB ecosystem, and I started seeing a bounce in Search Console or Webmaster Tools, whatever you want to call it. And so I knew the only thing that I was doing was I was working inside the GMB. The only thing that could be happening is my whatever work I did had the effect that I wanted to have. Some of it is just serendipity, right? It just happens that you come across it, you stumble across it, and you say, "Holy crap! This is now I got to go see what's happening. What's going on? What did I change? What did I do?" But that's how I do it, Greg.
Thank you for that answer, and I agree with that. For me, the same thing. It's more about what is the end result. I don't really, I still do provide rank reports for clients, but rank reports are typically, I've conditioned all of my clients to understand that rank reports are just an indication of what their search presence looks like. It's not like law like it used to be years ago because of more individualized or personalized search results being displayed now. Because what we track more is analytics and traffic and conversions, essentially. That's what those are the primary metrics, and those all affect the bottom line. So what we're looking for is number of leads generated, number of visits to website, but not even that. It's more, we still look at that, but it's more about the conversions, number of conversions created, whether those are phone calls or web form submissions or whatever the conversion goal is. Obviously, most of my clients are looking for leads. So we track basically number of leads, however that lead came in, whether it was a phone call or web form submission or whatever the case is. But that could also apply to people that are, for example, e-commerce, or when you're looking to make sales online or whatever that is. Those same type of metrics. It's not necessarily for local businesses. It's more, in my opinion, it's not necessarily search results. It might be for e-commerce, but not necessarily for local businesses. And I don't know why this thing is making me reconnect. Let me see if I can get it to load. As far as what do I do for testing to determine if something, why is this not loading? Son of a bitch, if I can't read the questions. When it comes to testing for me, I've got a ton of lead gen sites. So I usually do testing on my lead gen sites first. And once I've discovered something that works, then I repeat it and try to duplicate it on another lead gen site. And if I can duplicate it and get similar results from the same process or same method, and as Marco said, it's not really in isolation because there are other components, other methods that have been applied. So it could be a combination of the thing that I'm testing in association with other things that have already been applied. So what I try to do is find another property that has, had similar things done to it. And again, I've got a ton of lead gen properties. So I got a lot of testing sites or testing projects. In other words, that, projects I can test against. And then I apply the same thing. And if I'm able to get similar results, then I start to apply those to client sites as well. So I usually prove everything prior to applying anything to a client site. Those are good questions though, Greg. So the next one is from Lloyd, and it's actually it's actually 7 full questions squeezed into there. So we're not going to go through all 7. It looks like it's only 3, but part number 3 has got 4 parts to it. So it's 7 questions. So we'll come back to it, Lloyd, if we have time. We'll start with the first 2. How about that? So the first one is, which of your done for you services would you recommend for the following scenarios to rank fast? Local lead gen. Number 1, local lead gen for an agent working within a certain radius. Rank for a main keyword and subdomains for each city. Again, the done for you services we would recommend are the same that we talk about in the battle plan. There's and I mean I'll kind of run through them right now very quickly, but it's the same process. And whether it's for local or for even national type terms, it's just for national type terms, you're typically going to require more of the things, whatever they are, right? So, but for local, I always recommend a syndication network that's branded for the brand name of the company, period. That's the first thing we do is syndication network. Then once that's delivered, then we end up ordering a drive stack, an RYS drive stack, because that's how you can build that association between brand name and keywords that you're trying to target and or locations as well. And then blogging to your money site, if you have a money site, blogging to that to feed the syndication network, but you're going to include those syndication network URLs in your drive stack order. so that those get built into the profile. Press release announcing the new business. And then what I like to do is use blog posts as an excuse to publish new additional press releases. For example, you know, if you get on a regular basis of maybe, let's just use as an example of 2 press releases per month. So you'd highlight or promote 2 different blog posts per month with a press release, if that makes sense. Because then you can do a whole bunch of what we call PR silo stacking. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go to our YouTube channel and search PR silo stacking or press release SEO. Either one of those will work, and you'll be able to find a webinar where we talked about that. From there, you've got we got the embed packages, especially for local. It works really, really well. If you go to mgyb.co and you can embed your GMB map URL or your map, excuse me, and do an embed blast for that. And then link building to that works really well. Link building to your drive stack, the add ID local iframe loop, that's something else that works very well. So just putting all of those components together and then being consistent, again, blogging consistently. If it's GMB, you want to be doing GMB posts consistently. Those are all things that once you get started, you just keep them going. It's like keeping your foot on the gas, and it starts to build momentum. And once you once you put all these pieces together, then you should start to see significant results. My time frame for getting significant results with a GMB, it depends on the competition. If it's a kind of a suburb area with low competition, I can usually get results within 30 days. But if it's a more competitive area, then I usually tell a client the timeline to expect significant results is 3 months, but I usually end up getting results within about 60 days, just putting all of those pieces together. And those are, pretty much the same. And I'd rather under promise and over deliver than try to tell a client, I can get you results in 60 days and then have something happen where I don't get results in 60 days. And then I have not delivered upon what I promised. So I always try to set expectations for 90 days. And just by putting all those pieces together and start to build momentum, then it ends up usually within 60 days, I get significant results. Only the most competitive areas does it take usually 90 days to get significant results. Marco, what say you on that?
I say that local is relative. We do the same thing for anything. The foundation is the same. Just how much of it is the only question, right? Some need more power. And even at the local level, I've come across keywords that are just a bitch to get to that. Man, it's just rough. But then you just have to keep hammering it. I brute force shit. So if something doesn't work the way that I want, I just give it more of it and force it to work. The way that we do it, though, is how we approach the entity at a local level and at the national, global, affiliate, whatever it is level. You have to work it a little bit differently. And that's all throughout our training. We did a webinar, the entity webinar in MGYB, right? It's one of the update webinars. We did that. And we showed how it's done. So I suggest start going through our stuff. Take a look at everything. We have tons of resources. Our YouTube channel is a great resource for free information. I mean, we have, I don't know how many thousands of hours of training in there and webinars and just things that we go over and maybe we update or we'll do a training webinar, whatever it is that we do. Plus the mastermind, the Semantic Mastery Mastermind. That's where we really get down and get to the nitty gritty and give people the best tools and the best way to approach whatever it is that they're doing. But at this level and what you're looking to do, I don't treat them any differently, man. The only thing that my approach is a little bit different as far as the entity that I'm going to show Google.
So number 2 is national lead gen for, so he's asking about which MGYB services would get the best result or quickest results for a national lead gen for a keyword like life insurance or life insurance quote. Again, I stand by my first comment, and so will Marco, I'm sure, in that it's the same thing. We still build the entity, as you meant. That's part of like what we call an entity loop. We've talked about that in various locations, and pretty much any one of our paid courses, we've talked about the iframe loop or entity loop, pretty much the same thing. And it's just building that out first, and then it's how much power you inject into it. So whether now remember, life insurance quote, that's going to be a bitch to rank for. You can do it, but it's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of work because those are very, very, competitive terms, and they have been for many, many years. So that's like going after gold or, gold IRA or something like that. Very similar in that it's going to be very difficult for something like that, but it can be done with enough power, right? And enough effort. So that, again, it's pretty much the same comment as number one. It's just a matter of how much you put into those that when you're building that out. Again, Mark, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I would just caution that you have to gauge the time and effort that it takes, time, effort, and money versus the return that you're going to get on it.
Sure.
Because if you have limited resources and you're trying to rank for life insurance, it's likely not going to happen, although it can be done if you do it correctly. And it's something that we would only guide you through, again, in our Semantic Mastery Mastermind. We had that case study that Dedia presented, and he explained exactly how he got the result and what it took, right? Which included, of course, our methods. And they're available in mgyb.co so that you don't have to do it. And so that, believe it or not, although people see it as an expense, ordering something from MGYB, you're actually investing, right? And it saves you money in the long run because you don't have to spend all that time first trying to figure out how to do it. Second, implementing it. Third, are you doing it correctly? So now you could follow the battle plan, right? But that only takes you so far. I always tell people, look, if you want to know how, if you want direct answers, if you want to go in depth, if you want us to look at your website, the mastermind is the place to be. There's no other place where we're going to give you what you're looking for, which is information on how to rank locally and nationally outside of the mastermind. Although we do give you a lot of information, you can put it together. And we've had people, Paul Fussell is one of the people who created an entire business just from our Hump Day Hangouts, what we share in Hump Day Hangouts. We've had people come to us with businesses already that they built from listening to us in Hump Day Hangouts and going through our free training. So, I mean, that's one way, putting it all together, but imagine how much time and effort that's going to take versus joining the mastermind, which to me, the price that we're charging monthly is ridiculous. It's not enough, but I mean, it is what it is. And get the guidance that you need, get the done for you services, and learn how it's done. And once you know how, then it's just lather, rinse, repeat. That's the Semantic Mastery way.
All right, so Lloyd, if we have time, we'll come back. But we spent a lot of time on your first two questions, and there's several more. So I think the same answer goes for number three. I'm not going to read the question, but it's pretty much the exact same thing that we just mentioned for number one and number two. And if we come back for A, B, C, and D or whatever, if we have time, we'll come back to that, okay? Kyle says, is it a bad idea to build out an existing Drive stack in G-Site if the new Drive elements and G-Site pages are based on other businesses' brand name keywords? For example, you have an affiliate site and one of your money sites pages is Bowflex Review or PlayStation Review. Thanks. I don't see why that would be a problem. I mean, it is a brand name, but it's also a key. I mean, there's a brand name part of it, but it's also a keyword, right? People look for that kind of stuff. There are sometimes you can't create ads when you're using a trademarked name, but as far as, and again, I'll let Marco clarify what his, or put, tell you what his thoughts are. But in my opinion, for SEO, I don't see why that would create any problem, especially within a Drive property or a Google, a Drive stack and a G site. Marco, what do you think?
It's only a problem when you're trying to run a trademark ad. Right? Yeah. You can't do it. You have to get around Google's terms of service, and they're going to probably block that ad from showing because you're using something that's trademarked. But if you're doing a review of the product, now here's the caveat: unless you're doing a bad review of the product, if you do a bad review, you better make sure that you're right in case they come after you. Because if you can't show how you write about your bad review, you could get into a lot of trouble that way. Otherwise, if you're just trying to sell Bowflex through Amazon or whatever it is, or sell a PlayStation through Amazon, PlayStation welcomes you selling for them. Why not? They'll pay. Amazon will gladly pay the commission because they make money both ways, so they don't care.
Yeah. Just keep in mind that if you're just using those for like affiliates, you also got to check the affiliate agreements for those types of products, guys, because sometimes you'll be in violation of their affiliate agreement if you're using their terms in like SEO titles and things like that. You have to look, most of the time it's just for ads, for paid traffic. However, just keep that in mind. You really need to read the affiliate agreements for that kind of stuff, because if you put time and effort into building out, a website that you're going to put a bunch of time and effort into SEO, as well as a drive stack and all that other stuff, and you are doing something against their affiliate terms of service by using their brand name in your titles and things like that, then you could end up getting your affiliate agreement terminated or suspended from being able to promote that. So just keep that in mind. You want to be real careful about that. I don't know that that's the case with either one of these examples, but just make sure that you're aware of what's in the affiliate agreement. Okay. Gordon's up. He says, hey guys, can't thank you enough for all the help you provide on Hump Days. Thank you very much again. You're welcome. Gordon, he says, I'm sure you probably know this already, but Google is now limiting the total number of GMB listings shown to just 20. You must mean within the manage locations part of your dashboard. Isn't it just paginated? Like, in other words, it doesn't just restrict you to 20. Maybe I've got some grandfathered accounts then, because I know that I was just in my GMBs today, a couple of them that have well over 20. So I'm not sure what that means. Maybe newer accounts. I'm not sure what that means, exactly what you're talking about. But you should, even if it only shows 20, as far as I know.
Hey, Bradley.
No,
it's not in the account. He's talking about it in search results. But that was just something that was published the other day by some idiot who jumped the gun. It's back. Google is always testing. Google is always putting things in front of people. They were showing when you did the more, it was limiting it to 20 rather than the endless scroll that you were getting, right? Or pagination, as you said. But they're back to normal as far as I know, because guys, I never jump the gun when Google does something. Again, talking about the mastermind, it's something I always tell my mastermind people: when Google is out there changing shit, you don't do a fucking thing other than what you usually do, because it's usually Google out there looking for idiots who jump the gun. I'm sorry, not that I'm calling Gordon an idiot, but not by any stretch of the imagination, because you're always here. You're always asking questions. I appreciate you coming in here and asking questions. I'm talking about these idiots who jumped the gun, put out information that it could have been just a glitch in Google. That happens, guys. Google is so huge. It's unimaginable how huge Google is. They're bound to have glitches. When that happens, you do nothing other than what you usually do. You let things settle. Once they settle and you know for sure that's what's happening, that's when you say, okay, let me go and figure out what it is that I need to do, since Google is limiting this. So sorry for interrupting you, but I had to get that off my chest, because I saw that, and I'm like, look at this idiot. No. Give Google a chance to work it out and see how this is going to settle before you start talking about what Google is doing.
Yeah, well, you know how writers on these big magazines and blogs and stuff are. They need shit to write about. So as soon as they see something, they say, "Oh, Google's made a change," and it could just be like Marcus said. A lot of times, Google's testing different layouts and things like that when it comes to search or the search results. And a lot of times, that's just it. It's just a test. So it'll be here today and gone tomorrow. That happens a lot. Speaking of which, how many of you guys, and this is just kind of a rhetorical question, but how many of you guys are seeing now 2 ads in the Maps 3 pack? So the Maps 3 pack is turning into a Maps 5 pack, with the first 2 listings being ads. Those are advertisers, people paying for Google ads, search ads that have the location extension enabled, which means they have a GMB that is connected or linked to their Google Ads account. And I'm starting to see more and more 2 ad placements above the 3 Maps pack. So in other words, in the Maps pack, it's now a 5 pack where the first 2 placements are ads. So even if you're in the number 1 organic spot in the Maps pack, you're still in number 3 position. Think about that. And so that's why, again, I've really pushed most of my clients. I've pushed all of my clients, but some of them won't have any part of Google Ads. But I've pushed most of my clients into letting me manage an ads campaign for them, whether they wanted to or not, because of that reason. It's just, guys, Google's pushing us more and more into the advertising space where we got to pay for the pay to play, basically. And I'm not going to fight it anymore for strictly SEO, because I feel like the, you know, and again, for mostly local, I feel like we're losing. We continually get pushed further and further down on the page with just strictly SEO results. And so I'm mentioning to all of my clients to do a blend of both SEO as well as paid ads, because also the results that it can produce are phenomenal. So anyways, back to Gordon's questions. He says, anyways, since YouTube is a Google property with lots of authority power, I'm guessing that it would be a good idea to include it as a backlink source to help a GMB listing rank in the 3-pack. Is that correct? And if so, other than uploading a few niche related videos to a niche optimized YouTube channel and including the GMB URL in the descriptions, what else, if anything, can you do to use YouTube to help rank a GMB listing? Run ads and push traffic into your GMB listing through YouTube. You know, that's one of the things you can do. You can, you know, also, like you said, putting your GMB, your NAP, your name, address, and phone number in the video description, as well as a link to your GMB maps URL, not the share URL. I mean, it's going to be a 301 through YouTube in the description area anyways, but grab that www.google.com/maps?cid version of your maps listing, right? And use that in the description, as well as put that in the comment, the first comment underneath the video, and then pin that comment. As the channel owner, you can pin comments, right? So put that link as the first comment, then run traffic via Google Ads to that YouTube video, targeted, geo-targeted, and preferably audience targeting, relevant audience targeting as well. So because now what happens is you're going to get traffic to that video that are good signals, and in the description of the video, and then in the comment link underneath, which is a do follow link, although that'll be a topic for another day where we talk about no follow stuff, based on an article that was released today, actually. By getting geo-targeted traffic and preferably audience, relevant audience targeting traffic to it as well, that's going to help the video to rank better, but that's also a good signal to the links within the video description. So in other words, it's a good signal to the GMB. And some people, especially, like I said, if it's geo-targeted and it's a relevant audience, which you want to look for in-market audiences or life event audiences if possible, then a small portion of those viewers, the video viewers, which is what you're buying views, will actually click through, and those clicks are extremely weighted because they're relevant clicks, and Google knows it because you're buying that traffic from Google. So Google knows which audience buckets you're buying traffic from. Again, geo-targeted and topical, or excuse me, relevant audience buckets. So those types of engagement signals, as Marco always calls it, ART, right? Activity, relevance, trust, and activity, relevance, trust, and authority, ART, right? So you're actually providing two of those first two signals, activity and relevancy, through those engagement signals that you're buying from YouTube. So remember, yes, on a strictly SEO basis, building links from YouTube can also help, especially to other Google properties. But it's also the activity and the relevant signals that you can buy directly from YouTube. And plus you'll get some organic traffic, which will be helpful too, but you can buy it and really kind of force everything. What do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, actually YouTube ads carry all three: activity, relevance, and the trust and authority that you're moving from YouTube to your website through that visitor, right? Through that person clicking on that ad coming through. Google is trusting you with that person, and then when that person, if they finish the goal that you've set for them, then that just cinches the trust and authority, transfers it over to your website, and the more that happens, the more trust and authority that you accrue.
Wow, we're getting a hell of a storm brewing out there, guys. So we'll try to get through another 20 minutes without losing power. We'll see what happens. Okay, so the next question, he says, by the way, you mentioned previously that the order of the GMB listings that show up after you click the more places at the bottom of the 3-pack is primarily based on their proximity to the searcher and not as much on their ranking signals. But if ranking signals are a significant factor and getting into the 3-pack, why isn't it the same for the listings that aren't in the 3-pack? And how do we check if our ranking efforts are having any impact on moving the listing closer to being in a 3-pack? Well, again, proximity is a significant issue. So there's only really the only way that I know of how to do that is to check is if you are using a rank tracker that can simulate a location-based search. Like, for example, Bright Local does that. But as we talked about in the past, even a simulated location-based search is not going to be the same as somebody searching from like a mobile device that's actually in the area. And again, it's because of the history, their browsing history, their preferences, their the where they've traveled within that area, all those kind of things. Because Google has built a profile for that searcher, those results are likely going to be different than what you would see in a search that was simulated from within that particular area from servers, if that makes sense. Because the servers aren't going to have a Google profile built, a local, like a relevant profile built for that particular area. So it can give you an indication of your ranking of what type of if you're getting any movement. In other words, if you are doing SEO work and you're using something like Bright Local, I know there's other rank trackers out there, guys, that do location-based rank tracking. But remember, it's still just simulated. So it's not going to be 100% accurate. There's just no way they can be anymore. But it can still give you an indication as if you're improving the rank positioning of whatever it is you're working on, because you should see it start to move based on whatever keywords it is that you're tracking. Although, like I said, it's not likely going to be exactly what somebody searching from that particular area is going to see on a mobile device that's a real bona fide, genuine person. It can still give you an indication of if you're getting results or not, right? If you're moving the needle, so to speak. Any comments on that, or keep moving?
Yeah, art trumps anything, Gordon. Activity, relevance, trust, and authority. It can even trump proximity if you push enough power. So don't just, you're isolating. You're saying one versus the other, and actually one includes the other. Take two listings that are in close proximity to the searcher. The one who has done the better job of optimizing and giving Google the right signals will probably be delivered to that person. I mean, it's an all-in-one, or I don't know. It's a component with many different parts. One of the most important being proximity. But I've had GMBs that weren't optimized and with no activity, no nothing, delivered to a person simply because of the proximity. But then once you start fleshing it out, once it starts getting activity, once you start getting posts and images and everything else in there that you're supposed to, it gets even better. So you know that an optimized GMB will probably get more action than something that's not optimized, unless it's just right next door to the searcher, and it just makes sense for RankBrain to deliver that search to the person doing the query.
Amen. So the next question is, and this is funny, this is kind of what I started talking about earlier. How are press releases affected and changing with the new tags, sponsored or UGC tags, which stands for user generated content, and search quality search quality radar guidelines Google just introduced? Did you update your submissions already? Hell no. First of all, that was just announced. That if for people that don't know, you can do a search on this. Google had just announced that starting today, they're going to start treating no follow links differently. And they've introduced two new rel equals or essentially tags for link tag to tag links with. They call one sponsored and one UGC, which stands for user generated content. First of all, it was just announced today. And because Google announced it, I'm no way would I ever recommend anybody go out and start changing shit that's already been published on the web because Google published a new announcement. Like if you do that, you're just setting yourself, like they're phishing. Google is oftentimes phishing when they announce stuff like this. And Marco just talked about this, if you freak out and go start changing changing stuff that's already been published based upon something that Google announced, you're literally raising the red flag and saying, hey, come look at me, come look at me. I'm an SEO and everything that I'm touching right now has been SEO'd, right? So it's like you're inviting penalty or scrutiny anyways, right? So again, I would never, after one single announcement, would I go out and start changing shit. First, I want to see what kind of effect it has by not doing anything, right? If I start to see significant drops or changes in existing projects and things like that, then I'll start working through what the fix is or what the recommendations are. But as Marcus just said in an earlier comment to an earlier question, when somebody makes an announcement, whatever it is, even penalties or new algorithm updates, things like that, while everyone else is scrambling, we recommend, and we've been in this game for a long, long time, recommend waiting and letting the dust settle and letting it the process play out, because a lot of the times there's an initial overreaction, like a knee-jerk reaction, and that's what ends up causing more harm than good. If you just wait and see what happens, a lot of the times you can start figuring out logically if anything changes at all. Just so you know, knock on wood, for the multiple updates, we haven't seen any, for using the methods that I know my team and I use, and the same ones that we teach, haven't seen. A lot of times we don't even know an update has occurred until somebody comes on, like Hump Day Hangouts, for example, and says, by the way, what did you think, or what kind of changes have you seen because of the new update? Oh yeah, there was an update? Because I don't read a lot of the SEO blogs, because I think most of them are full of shit, based upon third proprietary metrics and all this other stuff. So I just, honestly, I don't stay plugged into that stuff until somebody comes to me with, and brings it to my attention. And if I see any differences in any of my existing projects, then I'll dig into it and try to figure out what occurred exactly. But again, I am certainly not going to go out and start changing stuff just because of an announcement that Google made today. First, I want to see what kind of an effect it has, if any, before I try to determine what changes to make. And at that time, that's when I would start to make suggestions. But right now, it's way too early to tell. And honestly, I'm not really even concerned about it at the moment.
First of all, we have 6 months. We've been given 6 months to see how to implement any of these changes, if at all, because Google did not say that you had to make changes. And the only thing that's different about no follow links is that now they're being considered a hint, as in quotes. But if you're using no follow so that you don't pass a vote or trust and authority over to somebody else, then you don't worry. If that's how you're using your no follow, then why worry about it? What are you worrying about? There's nothing to worry. Go read the article again. Go to Google. Don't read somebody else's fucking opinion about what Google said, or what somebody said that Google said, or what somebody might have said about what Google could have said. That's bullshit. Go read the blog post in Google. It's very simple and straightforward. If you need to change the tags at some point, go change them. If you have people, it might affect if you're doing blog comments and all that bullshit. We don't do any of that. This post, to me, I saw it, and because I didn't think that it was worth my time, I just blew it. I'm sorry. I just blew it away, because it had nothing to do with anything that we're doing, because we don't do any of that. We don't go and do blog comments or any of that shit. We do our own links and our own link building, and it works perfectly well. It's not user-generated content. We don't get into any of that. No follow. We use that strategically. But we're mostly looking after do follow, and that's just how we do it.
There you go.
As one more thing, I think it was mostly related to press releases, if I understood the question correctly.
Well, he was asked, yes.
Okay.
Press advantage. The fabulous thing is that Jeremy wants to know a lot about SEO. We're in constant contact. He's developing some awesome stuff for us, and it's based on my training, right, on RYS and the principles behind RYS. So we're not even going to worry about it, because if he changes the tags, or if he has to change the tags because it's a press release service and it falls within the categories that Google is going to look for, it's not going to make any difference, because we have some awesome shit in our press advantage press releases that are workaround. See, guys, you got to realize something. Semantic Mastery is 2 minutes fast, 3 steps ahead of everybody else in the game. That's how we do the do. If you haven't realized it, then you better start really researching and understanding what it is that we teach, because we don't care. How long have we been out? As I said, 6 years. Syndication Academy is still working. RYS Academy is still working. Everything that we teach is still working. Through every update and penalty, whatever you could think of, Google rolls something out and oh yeah, really? No, we didn't see anything happen to whatever it is that we're doing. That's our usual answer. No, it didn't happen. So we go and we test. Oh yeah, Google's doing that, but it doesn't affect what we're doing. And it hasn't yet. And as Brady said, knock on wood, into the future, we've created an SEO shield.
Yeah. Okay, so the next question is Brian. He says, can you show us how to get the embed code from the GMB mini website? So that's the Google My Business or the .business.site. And yeah, that's very simple. Just go to iframe-generator.com and just put your, you can set some parameters here as to like how wide you want it and all that kind of stuff. This is all I use. Whenever I got to create an iframe, this is what I use. It's very, very simple. So for example, here's a Semantic Mastery GMB website. All I would do is come here, paste this in. Again, this is iframe-generator.com. I would put my keyword or my name brand in there, depending on what it is that you're trying to do. So in this case, I'd put Semantic Mastery. Usually, depending on where you're going to embed it, you can adjust the width and the height. If you want for a scroll bar, you can show a scroll bar. All of that doesn't really matter. Again, you can just adjust those parameters, and then you click Generate. And right there is your iframe embed code. That's you can use for embedding wherever you want, really. I mean, it's really very simple to do. Okay, so again, I just use iframe-generator.com. Very easy, all right? The next question is, by the way, B. Cato says, can't wait for POFU. Awesome, glad you're coming. Where can I see, wait a minute, I thought there was another question I just missed. Okay, another one. It's down here. I saw it. I was trying to figure out where I read it. Where can I see a recent webinar you did for agencies who want to ramp up? I couldn't make it and was hoping for a replay. That is probably the Semantic Mastery Mastermind webinar. I see that you talked about down here, the growth solution. I believe that's our Mastermind webinar, where basically Hernan walks through why the Mastermind is going to help you to grow your agency. So if you need to get a replay, just contact us at support@semanticmastery.com. Again, support@semanticmastery.com, and we'll get you a replay for that specifically. I'm not sure where Hernan has that replay. Boy, it is pounding out there. All right, so the next question is, Ernest says, what URL should I use for GMB when ordering the RYS stack? And this is why I brought this up as well. So I'm going to give you a quick way to grab this. The best way to do it that I know, and the quickest way, is either go into your GMB and on the right and on the home tab, or so the management dashboard, your Google My Business dashboard, and you can right click where it says view on maps or view on search. If you right click on view on maps and copy the link URL, right, and then paste it into a notepad file, it'll give you a specific version of it that then needs to be edited slightly. I'm going to show you how to do that. Or the other way that you can do it is using this pretty cool tool. Excuse me. Let me pull it up and I'll show you what I mean. It's called GMB Reviews, or gmb.reviewsmaker.com. gmb.reviewsmaker.com. If you go there and then you just go visit the GMB that you want to promote, right? All you guys got to do is this one time and then, put this URL correctly formatted in your workbook or your spreadsheet for that particular project. And that's the URL you want to use for link building and for everything else. Okay. Because it's not even a redirect URL. It's really crazy. It's the straight URL that once the page loads, it turns into this big, long, ugly maps URL. And so let me show you what I mean. If you go to gmb.reviewsmaker.com, and you see over here, you can either start to type the business name, and if it comes up, you can click on it, or you can just click decode place ID right there. Just go visit your maps listing, right? So you can search for it in Google and then click on the map icon if it pops a knowledge panel, and it will open it in maps, or you can just go directly to maps and search for the company or the business. And then you want to copy that long, ugly URL, right? As soon as you do that, you're going to come over to this, click decode place ID, paste that in, and click decode place ID. It'll take a second. Then you're going to scroll down to this part here where it says review generation URLs, where it says maps URL. Copy that link address, and then what you do is put this. I just put it into a notepad file because this shows you this particular format. However, if you take a look at this format in a redirect checker, like where goes, for example, you'll see that this is actually a redirect URL also. So it's still not a good, it's still a 302 redirect. So what you want to do, and you can see that's the final URL that it redirects to. And then once the page loads, it turns into this big, long, ugly URL. So you can either come to where it goes and just paste that in and then just copy this version of it, or a quick edit in a text file would be this. This is the correct way to do it. You just change the subdomain from maps to www, and then you add maps to just be on that first / and there you go. That is the straight URL direct to your maps listing. It's not even a 301 redirect. It's for whatever reason, like I said, just when the page loads, it turns into the ugly. But look, you'll see it's a no redirect. See how it just says trace complete? And if we go take a look, we'll open up Firefox, and if we paste this in, you'll see it's going to go directly to Semantic Mastery. And then once the page finishes loading, it's going to switch directly to that long, ugly URL, as you just saw. Okay? So that's the best URL to use. And again, the easiest way to get that is either go into your GMB dashboard, right-click on where it says View on Maps, and then copy link address, paste it into a notepad file, change it from maps.google.com to www.google.com/maps $CID equals, and then it's basically your CID code is your maps identifier code. Right, and that's all it is. It's that particular version of that URL is the best format for you to use for link building, for drive stack orders, and all that other stuff. Okay. All right, I think we're out of time. Old school way, yeah. Marco does it the old school where he just creates an iframe on his own. You can do that too. Last question or last comment really is Duke says, yes, I have seen 2 ads in the GMB section, especially for services that have Google certified services like plumbers. Yeah. And what's crazy is the Google certified service keywords, where the keywords that will produce the certified services, or the Google guaranteed services, right? That has a carousel of ads at the top. Then the maps pack, which will have 2 paid ads before it gets to any organic maps listing, so to speak. And so, I mean, it's like the whole top of the page is nothing but paid ads. So that's why I said, I think it's silly to not also be doing paid ads, guys, in my opinion. I think you're missing out on a lot if you're not doing a combination of both. So, all right, any final comments, guys, before I wrap it up?
POFU Live. Join the
good.
mastermind.
All right, guys, thanks for being here. We will see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.